Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 2 of Footy Unplugged. And I think you'll recognize who I have here with me. It is Nizaar Kinsella, the journalist for the Evening Standard. I'm a big fan of his work, so I'm absolutely psyched to have him on the channel. Nizaar, thank you so much for joining me. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, good to see you as well. We've met in person, haven't we? And yeah, we've also chatted online for a little while as well. So happy to come on the channel and sort of talk a bit about my career, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen each other. I think the last time was at the Chelsea preseason, which was really fun, and we've seen each other in Madrid too. So hopefully we get to like have more of those experiences. Like those are always so much fun. But yeah, so in this video, guys, I'm just going to be chatting to Nizaar and talking about how he got started, obviously how he grew to where he is now, because I think he's one of the main voices in football, especially for Chelsea Football Club, and then ask some questions. So we'll get right started. Nizaar, I want to kind of go back to the beginning. How did your journey in football begin?
Yeah, I sort of just did the university degree. I studied journalism, like a lot of people in the UK kind of study sports journalism as well, but mine was just general journalism. I wasn't sure if I was going to be sort of a sports reporter, news, celebrity, whatever. Like I was open to everything. I just wanted a job, to be honest. So I studied that. Kind of at university, like learn the skills, right? So I was trying to learn how to like edit video, shoot video, write, lots of different things. It wasn't just like one thing. I was kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. And then you kind of do the rounds. And what we do, a lot of us, is like we sort of go on like work placements. It's like unpaid work for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. You kind of just learn the job. You kind of see what the job is like, see if you like it, see if you can impress, see if you can get like that opportunity. And I kind of did that with the BBC, with ITV, which is one of the big channels here. And then, yeah, I kind of went into work for a charity for a bit, doing some video work, some content. Charity was actually like working in the science sort of sphere. So shows you like that, my pathway was kind of like jumping all over the place before I kind of found football. And then I worked for the Daily Mirror newspaper, kind of doing more the online content, not being like a reporter that kind of people know me to be today. I was kind of like not well known at all, just sort of helping other journalists, like packaging their content with a bit of video or making it better. This was the big online boom as well. So trying to help them with social media, that kind of thing as well. So I was kind of like a background guy and I was happy to do that. But I did sports, celebrity, news, but gradually I just kind of wanted to focus on sport, focus on football. Like I found news quite depressing. I didn't know enough about celebrity world, even though I did it. And then football was the thing I really knew. So I luckily enough applied for a job at goal.com, which is a huge football website. Got the job covering Chelsea. Didn't know that much about Chelsea at the time, but I think, learning on the job, making mistakes, getting better. I think people who've like followed me since the early days will have seen like, hopefully I've improved and yeah, I've gradually got more authoritative, built a bigger audience and got better. So that's kind of been my approach. And eventually I've ended up joining the Evening Standard, which is the local newspaper here in London. So great history. It's coming up to its 150th year and they've covered Chelsea since the beginning. So, if you go to the Chelsea archives, we've got a guy called Rick Glanville, who's the Chelsea historian. He'll have a lot of reports to show you from the early days of Chelsea's founding, where this newspaper that I'm part of now has written about Chelsea from the very beginning. So yeah, it's quite a pleasure to be here, really.
That's mad. And I feel like I've been following you since like your early days at Goal from years and years ago. And so it's just been so amazing to see how much you've grown and become like one of the main prominent voices in football and for Chelsea. What do you think were some of the reasons or some of the things that you did that helped you to grow to where you are now?
I think I was quite good at like adapting to the internet age. I think, like social media is so big, it's sort of it always changes as well. Like we've got TikTok now, we've got Instagram, like people are publishing on all platforms. So I was quite good at adapting to that. And I think built a good audience, just engaging people in a way that was like digital first. I think that sort of helped me a lot in my career. I'm kind of like good at a lot of different things as well. So like I think in the modern era, I think in the old days, like you just needed to be a great writer and that's it. But now you need to be great at social media, do some video, you know, be engaging on camera, try to communicate well in that way as well. And you still have to be good writers. So the job's probably never been as hard in some ways, and you kind of have to do all these different things. So I think I've like managed to adapt to that as well. And I think those are the two kind of keys. And then I think like the last thing is like, you know, with that in mind, it's just a lot of hard work, I must say. Like I would say to anyone who kind of looks at what I do and thinks, well, that's great, that'd be a good laugh, it's better than what I do or something like that. It might look fun, but it's actually a lot of work and it's really hard. And you know, people get very upset when their team loses. I get a lot of abuse and things like that. So there are like unpleasant parts of the job, but you know, I for me the real motivation is just the love of football. And ever since I've got into it, like I'm obsessed. Like I absolutely love football, and that's really the driver in me. So the bad parts I can totally take because I just enjoy like the football and seeing the great players that I've seen, especially one Eden Hazard. Probably, you know, he's been the best I've seen, and yeah, showing up to work to watch him has just been, it was ridiculous. There's many other great players, but him especially, wow.
Oh God, I actually met somebody and he plays for a team in Makalaunda, which is where I live, and Eden Hazard's son plays for that team. So I'm like, maybe I'll run into Eden like around Makalaunda. I don't know, but that's so cool. I think like he's definitely one of the fan favorite players. So it's amazing that you've gotten to see him up front and live. So what would you say is like a typical day like for you? Is it different day to day? Like what do you do?
Yeah, I think that's what suits me the most is like every day is quite different. So it's not very routine, and that's what makes the job good and also hard. Like, you know, because I could be working like all hours of the day. I could literally be working from like 7 until 12. Like that's happened to me many times in my career. Like the whole day I could be working, writing stuff. The transfer window it's on now. That's one of the busiest times, especially with Chelsea, as you know. So yeah, that sort of thing, that can happen, right? But I go to the press conferences, like, so that's like getting a train down to the training ground, you know, and then, you know, that's a whole day out, you know, a lot of travel. Like, you know, if I do England, I'm traveling to the middle of the UK, like miles away, absolutely miles away. I go to away games. I went to Middlesbrough. I go to home games, which is Stamford Bridge. And yeah, sometimes I cover other teams as well. So there's all that kind of stuff going on. And then, yeah, a lot of phone calls. Like I was late to speaking to you today because I was on the phone to one of my contacts, which was kind of annoying because I told you I'd be here at 12 and it's just after 12 and I'm annoyed that I didn't make the time. So that kind of thing happens. A lot of things like disrupts your day and that kind of thing. So that I think that it suits me as a personality, but it's quite hard as well. And some people might find it difficult. So that's kind of what the days look like. And yeah, like say a match day, I think everyone is excited to hear about that. You go to the match, get there 2 hours early, maybe chat to some people, try and find out some information, wait for the team news 1 hour before, tell people the team news. That's what I like to do. Then you kind of cover the match. For me, covering the match is like live blogging it. I also do a pre-match video, which I forgot to mention. And then I do like 2 reports on the whistle, so it's quite a lot of writing. So I write 2 reports bang on when the match finishes. You know, you can read those, and then I do a video after the match. Then I maybe speak to the manager or a player after the match as well. So there's like all these bits that you do around the match. So the matches are really busy. They're quite fun, but like they're really busy. And to be honest, sometimes when you're writing so much, you end up missing a goal or something. So I have missed some goals in my career, which is a bit annoying, but that's kind of what the job is like, you know, when you're writing and watching a match at the stadium.
So are you writing as you watch the match? Are you writing a full article? Are you writing notes so that you remember more or less what happens? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, I think like my current job and my last job as well, we kind of always had something for you to read as soon as the match ended because a lot of people want content or like to consume it at that time. So I try my best to write a good thing at that point, but like I'm writing it, I'm watching, like I'm forever doing this, like with my head up and down. Imagine me typing here and like sort of going like that. And there's a replay here as well. So, if I do miss something, I can get it. So that kind of thing is very helpful. So that's kind of like what it looks like and what it's like the job in the stadium. So yeah, it's tricky because I think I can do better work if I have time. Like, and everyone feels like that. It's very pressured, very tricky, and you can end up mistyping something. And luckily, I have editors who can clean up any mistakes I make, and I think that's essential when everyone's working to such like time pressure. So yeah, that's the sort of tricky part of it, but it's quite cool. And I think that people just want to read something straight after the match, especially if like your team won, or in the flip side, if they've been really bad. Sometimes you want to be like, yeah, damn it, that was really bad, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I always go to read whatever you post because I'm like, okay, what did he think of the game? Because I really value your opinion and the player ratings as well, and just like the play-by-play. Because even watching it from home, sometimes I like get distracted and I feel like I miss things, or that you see things that I didn't see in the game. So I feel like it's really useful. But I can imagine that's really stressful. Like, I'm stressed just thinking about being in that position.
Yeah, I think it's quite big to just show
And
that you're there and provide opinions from the stadium as well, because you can sometimes see things a bit differently. It's a unique perspective when you're inside the ground. So I think that's really important. I hope modern journalism continues to like back reporters, not just myself, but all the guys out there, just to keep going to the stadium, because a lot of people do it from home. But I think there's great value in people being in the room and being in the stadium and things like that, just in journalism in general. And I hope it continues to be funded by all the different media companies there are.
absolutely. And going to after the match, you mentioned that maybe you have a press conference with the manager, with a player. So how does that work? Is it like on the sidelines? Do you kind of flag them down and see who's going to come? Do you know who you're going to be talking to? I have so many questions. Like, how do you prepare for this?
Yeah, there's definitely no hard and fast rule. The manager thing, like in English football, that's always like locked in. So you always get a chance to speak to the manager, no matter the result, sort of thing. So it would be quite a shock if the manager didn't do it. I think they get fined if they don't do it. So they always speak. They always speak. So, and then with the players, like you're kind of like hoping for the best. I hope to speak to him, but you never really know for sure sometimes. And sometimes you get tipped off who it's going to be, or it's obvious because somebody scored a goal and been the match winner, and they want to speak, kind of thing. So yeah, it can't. It's the player thing. When the player you're going to speak to after the match, sometimes it can be a bit random, really, and sometimes if the results are really bad, nobody wants to speak. It has happened before, so that can be a bit frustrating. But that's just, I think, the modern game. Like there's so much media now, and they have to do the rights holders first. So they do like the TV companies, and sometimes they're even struggling to get a player to speak to those guys. So the guys who don't pay the rights, which is like the money that the clubs get, like newspapers don't pay rights. They kind of cover it like based on the history and tradition of English football. And that we're always trying to fight for that player to speak to. But it helps a lot if you've got a relationship with the player. Say you've written about them a lot in the past. Like a lot of the guys from Chelsea, especially, I've known them for many years. I watched them in the academy, and then they know my face, or they've read my report, or I wrote a report on them when they're a youth player and nobody was writing about them. So that kind of thing can be helpful. If there's a bad result, you can be like, oh, come on, mate, can you help me out? I want to write something after the game. They're like, oh, okay, then,
Oh,
that. So there's kind of this kind of relationship that you have, and yeah, you hope that everyone gets each other's job and knows that you're not trying to criticize anyone. You kind of just want the situation explained from a player's perspective. You're not making them feel bad. That kind of thing is important. Like building some trust over time. It's important with players and managers, I think, and media have to sort of build those connections.
so do you have a favorite player to interview?
Good question. Well, like Hazard was actually not only a great player but great to interview. I think Cesar Azpilicueta set a great standard. When I can see on your wall behind you, he set a great standard of like how to deal with the media. Like win, lose or draw, he would stand up and say something. Like he's like, I'm the captain, and that rubs off on the rest of the guys. They're like, oh, the captain does it, we should do it. So there's those kind of guys have been great. I mean, Jose Mourinho, I think he's the best manager to speak to. He's just absolutely electric. I really enjoyed Antonio Conte, Thomas Tuchel. So there's been loads of great guys. Maurizio Pochettino is incredibly warm and genial person as well. Yeah, really, really, really great guy, real football man. So yeah, like, to be honest, nearly everyone's good, but there's just a few that are really excellent. You know, Azpilicueta, Hazard is the superstar of the squad, would always speak to the media like, you know, he didn't act like a superstar, and I think that kind of stuff is cool as well. So when the players just treat you like man to man, you know, that's the cool thing. And Hazard sort of had that sort of really straightforward approach. Same with Azpilicueta. No surprise, they're two best friends, really. You know, from their time at Chelsea. So yeah, it's great speaking to those kind of characters.
Those are, I think, like my two favorite players, or like some of my two favorite players. So you're just like reinforcing my love for them. So have you ever had any like awkward or embarrassing moments? Like I think of like people where you ask a question in a press conference or something,
Mhm.
and the manager replies super short or rude, and I'm like, oh my god, so it's kind of my worst nightmare. But has anything happened like that to you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it must have done. There must be plenty. I think there's a lot of like ones that haven't been caught on camera, because like when you do the newspaper interviews, like a lot of them are not on camera. So like there's been
Yeah.
awkward moments. I remember Chelsea not Liverpool out of the cup one time, and I interviewed Van Dijk, and you know, he was great to stop. I was so thankful that, you know, he got beat. It was a big defeat, but he still spoke, and he's one of the, speaking of superstars, he is a superstar. So yeah, I was sort of like, you know, was it a shame because Liverpool were going to win the league that year? They were miles ahead, but they got knocked out of the cup. And I was like, is it a shame that you can't sort of try and chase the double? Like, the league season's over, that kind of thing. He's like, what do you think, the Premier League's not good enough? That kind of thing. Because especially with Liverpool, like, it's been so long since they won the league, so it was quite a spiky moment. And like this giant of a man, this great player, like speaking
Yeah.
like that, but actually ended up getting the best quote. And I think sometimes, like, you know, being, that's kind of like, you've got to stand your ground and just be like, well, I was like, yeah, but the league's over, in it. So like, you know, and they rested a few players. I was like, you know, couldn't you have just played your strongest squad? This was a massive game. Is it not bigger than the league games? And that kind of thing. So like, you have a bit of back and forth, and they kind of understand your perspective, but you can like shrink in those moments and like hide away and be like, oh no, sorry, Mr. Van Dijk, that kind of thing. So you know, that can happen. I think when you're a bit older as well, you kind of like, you know, you understand that you can sort of have these moments and it's not a big deal. But when you're younger, it's kind of scary, right? So I think it was I look back on it quite fondly, to be honest. But there's been a few moments like that. I remember telling Frank Lampard he drew Man United in the cup after like in the Carabao Cup after like the third round, and he was like, "Oh, Man United, that's not a good draw," kind of thing. You could see it in his face. So yeah, that kind of thing was, you know, can happen, and it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it kind of shows that you have to have a bit of a thick skin as well. And it goes back to what you're saying with developing relationships with the players. Like, hey, I'm not here to criticize or judge you at all. It's just like trying to understand where you're coming from. Um, but I would 100% shrink in that moment. What would you say is like your most memorable moment of your career or interview moment, like the highlight?
Yeah, I was kind of like putting a list together actually before I came on, and like interviewed like Harry Kane, which was great. Like Cesc Fabregas is one of like my heroes. Watching him growing up, like all through my childhood, interviewing him, he's a great guy. Like, you know, many interviews like that. Roberto Carlos, you know, you're in Madrid, you know, like what sort of legacy he has in football. He was a top guy as well. Like meeting some of the guys face to face. Sometimes you meet them in like casual situations where you just have a chat with them, like just having a chat with John Terry about life. Like you've done that. I've chatted to Frank Lampard about some of the players he plays with, just sort of, you know, like a water cooler chat. Those kind of moments are really cool. And so yeah, there's a lot of those kind of moments. Then like covering the World Cup final, that was a dream of mine. Messi and Mbappe won, you know, 3-3. What a game! Messi getting the trophy that had eluded him his whole career. You know, that was quite an emotional moment for me, I'd say, as well. And you know, Champions League finals, Europa League finals, any FA Cup finals, all of it's just amazing. And yeah, covering England as well has been great fun. Pretty much all the England players, just great guys, really. So, yeah, they're great to deal with, and England are great to deal with as an organisation too. Hopefully, they win something this summer. And yeah, I've had a lot of great moments so far. So hopefully it continues, and I keep progressing, really.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where you get to. So just to wrap it up, one last question. What advice would you give to anybody trying to break into the football industry?
I think, yeah, I've given a lot of like young journalist advice, and I'd say don't worry about being like the best at everything straight away, or trying to copy anyone. I'd say just get the skills down first and foremost. Learn how to write well, learn how to make videos, whatever it is that you want to do. Be good at social media, be engaging, make a great podcast. You're an example of that as well. Just do one thing great maybe at first, and then try and broaden it out gradually over time. Like, it's taken me years and years to be in this position. It's taken me like 15 years, and I think I've done it quite quick, compared to maybe some other people. And even then, it's still taken me years and years. So just focus on what you can focus on. Don't try to copy anyone or be like somebody else. I think that's the key. And people respect you a lot more for it if you're just very good at one thing, and then they can develop the other things out of you. So, yeah, if you want to be a newspaper reporter, learn how to write. If you want to be working TV, like, learn how to work on that side of the production, and whatever part of the production you want to do. And gradually you'll get there, really. So, yeah, I think that those are the key lessons, and just work really hard, be honest, always volunteer for things that, maybe are difficult to do, but try and do them, and try and help people who work. If you join my company, I'd hope that you'd help make my job easier and all my colleagues' job easier. That's what I'd want from a young journalist. And then over time, you'd end up maybe being in my position, covering Chelsea if that was your dream, or another club, another big club. So, yeah, that's kind of my advice, really.
Nice. I always love asking that question because I like soak it all in. Uh, so we'll wrap things up here. I have absolutely adored and loved our chat, Nizaar. As always, thank you so, so, so much for taking some time out of your day to hop on and let me interview you. I really appreciate it. And I'll just hand it over to you if you have any last thoughts and want to let anybody know where they can find you. I'll put everything in the description box, of course.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm on all the kind of social media platforms you sort of expect. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So yeah, those are my main ones. But I'm trying to build my YouTube. Like, I'm not doing as good as you. I'm trying. So yeah, those are the kind of my places where I'm going. And yeah, I'm on the Evening Standard. If you're in London, please read us. Please pick up a paper. All that kind of thing. And yeah, just wishing everyone the best. Happy 2024. And yeah, thanks for having me on your platform.
Thanks. It means a lot. Well, guys, I hope that you enjoyed and loved this video as much as I did. Like I said, I'll put all of Nizaar's info down in the description box below. If you like this kind of video format, this series, I will be trying to have a guest on weekly. So make sure to tune in and sub for that. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. And until next time, I'm out. Bye.